Thank you. I'm going to do this something more like this. That way you can hear me a little more better. A little more better. Cool. Thank you, Judy and Ray, for sharing this with me. I don't know if everyone saw this in the paper, the local paper. Goes through all the things about the American flag. It's very cool. History of the flag, all that kind of thing. This is, I think, I've been doing this for 20 odd years. I think this is my first Sunday on Flag Day. So I thought I'd play with it a little bit. I hope you guys are okay with that. Old Glory, Star Spangled Banner, all kinds of names we have for this thing. And right now, a lot of us have a bunch of mixed feelings around it. It's been abused rather badly over the last few decades. And I thought we would talk about, not only this particular object, but the whole purpose and role of signs and symbols. Those words, they have very interesting uses and meanings. When there's a sign, it's something that is pointing to something. It's telling us something is possible, something might be here. There, the first sign of spring. Those of you who spent time in the wintry parts of the country, that very first little bit of green haze, or the little pokey up of the first crocus or snowdrop, right? The first sign that, oh, something's about to change, thank God. And then, a symbol is different from a sign. I'm planning a wedding that's going to happen here in town in a couple of weeks, and we were talking about this ring that they're going to share, that's a symbol of this commitment that they are making in that ceremony. That they've been living for years, but now they're making this public commitment, and the ring is the symbol of that commitment. So an object can be a symbol for something, or it can be a sign that something is happening. Well, this is a symbol. Okay? And it has a bunch of other symbols in it. And we can use this symbol as any number of things. Most of us grew up saying something called the Pledge of Allegiance. And it's kind of interesting because that's an old carryover from medieval feudal times, when people would pledge their allegiance to a lord, to a baron, to a king, saying, yes, I will fight for you. I will not fight for anyone else. That's basically all they're saying. All right? And we're saying we're going to pledge it to that, because we say to the flag. But then we say, and to the republic for which it stands. This is a symbol for a republic. Do we pledge our allegiance to that republic? I think most of us do. So even though we're uncomfortable saying the pledge to the flag, we can just kind of subvocal that and go to the republic, right? So a flag is a sign and a symbol. It's a sign, and it was created. Flags are signs that this nation is being here, is present here. That's all it is. And it's a symbol for that nation. There's lots of flags in this world. And each one of them is a symbol for a nation. Each one of them has elements that are symbolic, that the people of the nation have come together. I know that's a lousy picture, but that's as well as it would come out. But each one of these nations has chosen the colors, the forms, the images that are on their flags to represent who they are in this world and how they are in this world. And they see themselves as a community. And they want the world to know when this community and this land, as we sang in this beautiful song, Finlandia, I love it that we sing the national hymn of Finland. I love it so much. Right? And I love it that their hymn says, and there's other people out there too, and it's just as good as mine. Right? So each one of these flags, whoops. Yeah, I just wiped out a symbol here. We'll know that the actuality is present. The flame of love is present. We don't need the symbol. There are lots of nations on the planet right now. He's going to make it work. There's new ones next to the refrigerator in the kitchen.
I'll do that.
So there's lots of flags because there's lots of nations right now, right? And as we look at each one of those, notice how many of those are red, white, and blue. And there's two reasons for that. One of them is the very first republic on this modern planet was red, white, and blue. That's what we chose. And we chose red, white, and blue because our parent nation, which was the first nation to live by common law, Britain. And common law is the essence of the Constitution, by the way. We chose red, white, and blue because common law was important to us. And common law assumes the value of every human being. Common law assumes that we have rights as individuals. That isn't part of every other culture, as we have been finding to our distress over the last few decades in this world. Right? So red, white, and blue are associated with that. And then other countries have chosen some other colors as well. But if we look at the red and the white and the blue, what we're looking at is symbols. The red is a symbol for blood. And blood is a symbol for, or a sign of, our shared heritage. We are all human. We have all the same blood. It isn't green, we aren't Vulcans. All right? And it is a sign of courage. And red is associated with courage. You may have remembered the red badge of courage when you were growing up. It's a sign of courage because we go through something even though blood may be spilled or has been spilled. White in all places around this world is purity. The absence of color, purity. The absence of darkness, purity. All right? And purity has come to be symbolic of, if you will, or stand for the freedom, the liberty to be who we are without constraints, nobody imposing a particular shade of gray or color on us, and a justice system, ideally, that would work. Liberté, égalité, right? Fraternité in French. They chose the red, white, and blue also when they formed the next republic after ours. And then blue. The blue is the sign of faith. Now, if you remember your Advent candles, they changed the pink and purple. It was all purple. And one pink candle in Advent. And now there is a blue candle. And in Advent, blue is hope. And hope and faith are kind of wedded together. It's acting in the expectation, acting as if it is so. Acting from that place. And related to faith is this idea of loyalty. Once I have established my faith in something, I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to be with it. I'm going to hang in there. And the other very important piece of that is then we have mutual support. I have faith in this community we call the Florence Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, and my faith in the community means that I anticipate and live from the expectation of mutual support, my part and your part as well, yes? So mutual support is very important. And so when we look at the very first flags of this country, most of us have been taught that this is what there is. Well, guess what? We're going to find a lot more. But that blue is where the stars are, right? Isn't that beautiful? And the red and white are the alternating courage and purity, freedom and strength, etc. So it turns out there was one flag where they had 15 stripes and 15 stars. That would have been, I think, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they went, well, we can't keep adding stripes. So they went back to 13. And they decided, and this part, the blue part, is called the Union. That's the Union on the flag. Isn't that nice? So we have faith and purity, or courage and purity, liberty and courage, and then we have faith, and then these individual elements, again, purity. But those are not the only flags America has had. Yeah. We did a lot of flags. Yeah, it wasn't just Betsy. Yeah, a lot of these were attempts to come up with something. Remember, don't tread on me. This poster was up in a classroom, and someone said, "How come you have that racist flag in the middle?" The snake. Apparently, the Tea Party has convinced a number of people that the snake is a racist symbol. I don't understand. And the poor teacher had to explain why it was there, and then he took it down because he knew that the one kid who asked the question was representing dozens who weren't asking and were going to go home and tell mom, and live with that idea for the rest of their lives. But these are, there's this other one that has a snake. These are the many flags that were in place before this one was adopted on June 14th, 1777. That's why we have Flag Day on June 14th. This is the anniversary of the first American adopted. This is what we stand for. And the reason they had to have one was because they were at war. They had to have something to say, this is our troops, this is us, don't fire on us, we're on your side. Yeah, those are those guys over there, they have their flag, this is us. So we had to have something that was a sign of our presence and a symbol of who was present in that place. So, and ever wonder why it's a 5-pointed star? It's an alchemical symbol. It's not just Wiccan. It's an alchemical symbol, and you can see it's rather complex. It's also, if you remember Leonardo da Vinci's and others, Vitruvian, it's the head and the arms and the legs of a person. Right. So we have 5-pointed white stars on a blue field. All of this, we have faith in this for everyone that is added to the union, the blue field. Isn't that marvelous? Coming to terms with this flag. And so among all these other amazing, there's ours right in there, amazing flags, dozens and dozens around the world, we come up with that American flag. And for all flags around the world, there are protocols. And in case you didn't know the protocols, when the flag is hung, it needs to be the highest flag present. If it's an American territory, the American flag has to be highest, saying, this is American territory. Everything else is subject to that, in case you've ever wondered. When we honor the dead, it goes up to that highest point and then is lowered down to halfway, always halfway, half-mast, to honor those who have passed. And if it is on the flat on the wall, that blue square is always on the flag's upper right. It may be folded in a triangle. If you have any vets who have passed away in your family, you may have the triangle that was, folded at the funeral in a glass case. It may be flown upside down as a distress call. That's the only time when you're saying, I'm an American in distress. All right? Or it may be draped. Isn't it interesting how our mood changes the moment we see that? Yeah. It means a lot when it is draped. It tells us that these people have lived and given everything that it stands for. Now a bit of social and political commentary. If you go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, you probably pledge allegiance to something like this. Notice that it is somewhat different from the flag I've been showing you. This is called the Admiralty flag. This is not the flag of the United States of America. This is the flag of the Maritime Commission of the United States of America, and it is flown when we are under martial law. There is considerable evidence that a lot of people are quite concerned about that nobody undid World War II's state of putting the Republic under the Maritime Commission, and that we're still operating under maritime law instead of the Constitution. And that some of the decisions that the Congress has been making are made from that. And if you, I didn't bother to take down all the images, but if you look at many of the times that the president is making announcements, you'll see this is the flag being flown behind him, not the American flag. So there are a lot of people quite concerned about this. I don't know what's real. I don't know, because I do know people who go, oh, this is prettier, let's use it. This is grander, let's use it. There are people who have no idea, you know, but there are others who do. So there is a lot of concern about this. If it has just the fringe, it's the military. If it has the fringe and the tassel, it's the Admiralty. So something to be aware of, and if you are ever responsible for putting the American flag anywhere, I strongly recommend you do not use the one with the fringe. Because that's not what we're about, is it? No. No. We're about all those other things that it stands for. Enough social and political commentary. We have other flags that we use in the States, and some of you may recall, and having grown up with different ones of these are the state flags. Aren't they fun? New Mexico always stands out, right? Yeah, isn't that fun? Yeah, there's California up there with the bear, the Republic. Yeah. I know, there we go. Yeah. So.
Which one?
I forget which one's the Oregon flag.
It's the one with the beaver on it.
Can't tell.
Yeah. It's the only two-sided flag. On different things on different sides.
That's why we get confused.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Oklahoma, there's state of Oregon. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
I
David.
guess that is a beaver.
Yeah. All right. And notice that some of them, have chosen to draw on their past rather than the present as their, basis for their flags. And in the U.S., a state flag is always flown at least one flag height lower than the American flag. And so that's something to be aware of if you're ever in charge of those things. I forgot, who, is this Alaska?
Yes.
Yeah, with the dipper. And notice, California is a republic. I think Texas is a republic. We are a union of independent sovereign states. We tend to forget that. These are independent sovereign states. Each one of them has certain rights under our Constitution. And that big thing that happened in 1865, there was the war over states' rights. And this whole thing around marriage, who can get married and who can't, is around states' rights. Do the states have the right to decide who can get married and who can't? Right. So one of the things that's happening, and been happening for about 50 years, is the rights of the states have been steadily eroded. When Reagan nationalized or federalized the National Guard, he eroded the governor's right to take care, to call his own military, his own militia. That was the National Guard, we're militia, states' militias. So one of the things that's going on in the country today is the states are becoming less and less sovereign and more subject to the federal government. And that's part of what some people get very upset about. They want the states to be sovereign. They want this to be a union of sovereign states rather than a federal, not even federal anymore. A federation is a group of sovereign entities. So rather than a Unitarian, if you will, oh terrible, unified one country, one nation without any individual sovereignty. Something to be aware of. Another set of flags that are commonly used in America are the signal flags. Some people I know can read these. I've never been very good at it. For some reason, my mind just does not hang on to these symbols. So we have letters, one for each letter, and one for each number. And you can spell things out, and there are standards for how people use these on their boats. Most people use them on their boats, but you can use them in other places. And this is an international code. So anyone from any other country would be able to understand what it is you are saying if you put these signal flags out in the order that you intend them to be. They have to, according to all nations' traditions, they are all below the national flag. Okay, so the national flag is first, and then if you've only got one flagpole, then you fly the signal flags below them. Okay, first substitute, second substitute, if you have to use a letter twice, or 3 times, or 4 times. That's what these are for. Right. It is. It's a whole language in itself. Yeah. Yeah. And so this is kind of fun because the flag, in this case especially, this is a symbol for the letter it's replacing, which is a symbol, for the flag it's replacing, which is a symbol for a letter, which is a symbol for a sound, which is a symbol for, a meaning, in the language. So it's kind of, multiple layers of symbol here. We do this a lot. Yes, ma'am?
Could you read us one of the things written beside a flag, the small letters?
Okay, no single letter meaning here. This one, Q. My vessel is healthy and request free pratique.
Okay, thanks.
Uh-huh.
What would that mean?
Well, that means
I thought it was passage.
A passage. I thought.
Yeah. In harbor, the vessel is about to proceed to sea. My vessel is stopped
So you don't have to read English.
and making no way through the water. Okay, that's what the X is.
Thanks.
All right. I have a diver down. Keep well clear at low speed.
Oh,
Nice.
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. D, keep clear of me. I am something with difficulty. Maneuvering with difficulty. Okay? Yeah. Right. All right. Yeah. Z, I'm requesting a tug. Okay. Okay, now did anyone recognize these guys? Right, Morse code, right. So S-O-S, right? So it would be the S flag followed by the O flag followed by the first substitute. If you're trying to do SOS, right? Yeah. Right. All right. I require medical assistance. I require assistance. You are running into danger, is this one. Okay? So you can spell out words and you can use the signals. Yeah? Every flag has a meaning. Every symbol on every flag has a meaning. It's a fascinating realm of possibilities, and frankly, this is my flag of choice. It's the Earth flag. Yeah. Here, this is Africa. This is Africa, Madagascar, Saudi Arabia.
Where do they use that flag? Where can we get it now?
The, actually, I get them all the time as a fair trade vendor, so we can have them at our fair trade sale if you like. They usually retail for about $40. Yeah, Earth flags, beautiful thing. And it's the unofficial flag of Earth Day all over the world. This is one of there were a series of photographs that came back from the very first astronaut's journey outside of the bounds of the Earth. And this is one of the 4 that came back. So coming to terms with the flag, we're each going to have to do it in our own way. But if we recognize that what we are looking at is a symbol for some symbols, for something that stands for something, what is that something it stands for? It becomes really clear when we're looking at this. This is an image of what it stands for. But what is it that the word America stands for? Freedom, all right? I want you to know the word America is much older than anything we know. There's evidence that a variation on it exists back as far as the Chaldean and maybe even the Sumerian times. Okay. In the mystery schools that we were talking about yesterday, America was the term used for what we described in our reading today, the And Then reading by Judy Chicago. The word America has always stood for that place where each individual is encouraged and nourished and supported in a mutually supportive nation where people are seeking the highest and best for all beings. Where freedom is an expression of mutual support in a way that leads to the highest and best for each and every one of us. Where the land and the creatures on the land are honored, where all is cared for out of love, where these values that the red and the white and the blue stand for are the operating principles of everybody and every organization and every governmental structure on that land. That's what the word America has stood for thousands of years. And the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons and all of those folks who were helping to make this happen have been working forward toward it for thousands of years. They're the most recent form of those people working for what America stands for. And that's why this country has so much more of an aura around it than we think it deserves, those of us who are critical of it, right? It's because for thousands of years humanity has been moving towards something called America that would be where everyone could accomplish and achieve and become the best they know how, for themselves and for their families and for the generations to come. And for that, and to that, I am more than willing to pledge